When I was 28 years old, I felt called to Los Angeles to be near my father, who had been living there the majority of my life. I asked him to come to Atlanta so we could take a road trip. We packed up my 2003 Honda Civic, including my favorite stuffed animal, Honey Bear, and started driving. Pops had this idea to make the trip educational. First stop, the Civil Rights Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. From Montgomery, we went to the George Washington Carver Museum at Tuskegee University. There, we rediscovered Pops' love for the multiple uses of the peanut, starting, starting with eating them all the time. Next stop, Pensacola, Florida, because wherever we are, there must be water, and the Gulf of Mexico was calling our name.
We drove and laughed and cried. We exchanged our biggest ideas for the future, all witnessed by little brother Honey Bear in the back seat. Somewhere driving the never-ending road through Texas, and while jamming to the dance floor mix of Let's Groove Tonight, I must have entered a trance, and like a Southeast DC oracle, I told my daughter, "You've reclaimed your life, Adenike. Now live your life. It's your time to victorize the situation." At first, though, she said,
Pops, you do know victorize is not a word, right?
"Yeah, but then the poetry sunk in, and we both realized it means squeezing victory out of a negative situation, creating your own path, living your life in power on your own terms. Victorize."
Yeah, that was just like my pops to help me reframe a terrible experience I had. When I was 14 years old, my stepfather violated my innocence with sexual touching, and at 16 years old, he raped me and clouded the violation under some sick predatory guise of preparation for my teenage sexual years. He continued the sexual thievery until I turned 22. But I'm happy to say that my real father, this dude right here, became an integral part of my healing. Instead of shutting down and turning away from each other, we chose to turn towards each other. We chose to be well. We started what I now call my journey of reclamation. I started by telling my family about my stepfather. Understandably, they were upset, yet I immediately directed them not to retaliate.
Yeah, and you best believe I plan to retaliate. I did. I'm glad we can laugh now, that's for sure. I planned to retaliate, but I didn't. By the time I got the news, I was instantly prepared to find the shortest route to revenge. I am no gangster, but I would have found a way to kill this man. Thankfully, my daughter, point blank, asked me to be her daddy and not her avenger. The opening words from a favorite novel of mine, The Salt Eaters by Tony Cade Bambara, welled up within me and demanded an answer. Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? How could I be well and still be a man if I didn't go to war with a foul individual who had hurt my daughter? Adenike's insistence that I walk with her, that I follow her lead, was my key to answering that question.
I recognized that despite my own innate desire to be protected and safe, I didn't want either one of my parents to go to jail. I knew there would be no personal satisfaction or gratification if they were incarcerated for punishing my criminal stepfather. I'm so thankful they listened to me. I didn't have a plan of action for my stepfather, but I had a plan for my family. I'm so grateful my father turned towards me and respected my request to stand down. And to this day, he has allowed me to continue to lead the charge to our healing. He showed more strength and restraint compared to his natural instinct to destroy my stepfather.
Listen, like so many men, I had absorbed the lessons that I must protect my honor at all costs. From other men, from the movies, from locker rooms, from the very culture of American manhood, I was taught that her sexual assault is all about me. That her sexual purity is directly connected to what it means for me to be a man, a good father, a protector. But when I actually listened to my daughter, it was clear, I knew, revenge would just worsen the situation. So I took deep breaths and I took direction from her, starting by devoting myself to working with Adenike, along with her mother and the legal system, to convict this man and send him to jail.
Unfortunately, my experience is not unusual. According to RAINN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, 1 in 9 girls under the age of 18 will experience sexual assault or abuse at the hands of an adult. Of the cases that get reported to the police, 93% of adolescents know their perpetrator, and 34% of perpetrators are family members. These numbers don't even include the victims whose cases are past the statute of limitations. Overall, only 310 out of every 1,000 sexual assault is reported to the police. I understand why so many victims don't come forward. Filing a police report requires giving a statement in as much detail as possible. I had to remember and describe every time my stepfather violated me. The probing questions, the memories that resurface, and the re-traumatization are enough to keep any victim from coming forward. And I actually had a compassionate police officer interviewing me. And the effects of child sexual abuse and assault can be long-lasting. Victims of child sexual abuse and assault are 4 times more likely to experience PTSD as an adult, 3 times more likely to experience a major depressive episode as an adult, and often face increased struggles with self-esteem and personal flashbacks. I relate to those statistics firsthand. I've often struggled with depression and feelings of unworthiness, and dating was so difficult. I would often run into men who would ask me, when will you be able to get over your abuse? When will you be able to just forget about it, let it go? Some men wouldn't even continue talking to me after I explained my past to them. But what they fail to understand is healing cannot be rushed. Everyone heals differently. Besides my personal experience with abuse, I've actually got 20 years as a professional educator, scholar, and personal coach. And I can tell you the one common thread to healing is you must acknowledge the pain. When you ignore pain, it will come back and show its ugly face and drag you back down to the original symptoms of the trauma. Oftentimes this happens without warning and at the most inopportune moments. You must move through your trauma. But first, you must make a conscious decision to be well, one step at a time.
Yeah. 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 With each step that we took on our healing journey, oh, I had her back, no doubt about it. And at the same time, I also searched for ways to take charge of my own healing. And there's no question, I needed healing too. I dove deeply into my lifelong love and engagement with literature, creativity, art, and music. I wrote poems. I embraced the freedom of jazz. I danced to my old Temptations and Earth, Wind, and Fire records. Yeah. I attended art galleries as well as dance and music concerts. I even channeled my imagination into the creation of an entire project about happiness and joy. I asked myself, what is a happy black man? What makes this black man happy? How can you ever be happy after your own beloved daughter was raped by another black man? A man who had shaken my hand. A man who promised to be my co-parent. A man who told me to my face he was not my rival. I was so lucky I could turn to a whole nother group of black men as a healing, critical healing step. My amazing friends. I've known many of these dudes since my 20s. And they often stayed up with me late into the night. They listened as I poured out my agony. They helped me maintain my sanity as I just straight admitted my sense of failure. They loved me up as I expressed doubts about my manhood. But they all said to a man that the only hero's walk was to walk with Adenike for as long as it took.
As one of the first steps of my healing journey, in order to deepen our relationship, I wrote my father a long letter. I wanted to hear family stories that had never been told. I asked him anything and everything I could think of.
When I got that letter, I decided to just sit down and record my answers in one session on 2 90-minute cassette tapes. After all my years as a professional writer, I wanted her to truly hear my voice. I answered her questions with complete emotional transparency. I was never defensive about my past decisions, my past mistakes. I promised Adenike that I had the courage to be her father, to be her daddy, to be her pops.
When I received his cassette tapes, I sat in my room with my headphones on, listening closely to his answers. Hearing his voice became the first brick to the foundation of the relationship that we have now. His voice gave me the courage to begin the toughest part of my healing, counseling. And with my therapist's help, I continue to build the relationship with my father that I truly needed and desired. I invited him to hear the truth about what happened to me. I asked for his ears, his heart, and his love, and my pops accepted.
With Ade's therapist as witness, I asked my baby girl exactly what happened. It was the hardest question I've ever asked. But I needed to face the whole truth about what she had endured. The honesty on those cassette tapes, the honesty in that counseling session became the bedrock of my work with my kid from then until now. During this unwanted crisis, embracing a loving conversation with my adult daughter became set the standard for our future communications.
We established the trust we needed to continue to heal and stay inspired. We dug into our wounds and searched for our healing. What do you need to begin to build your healing foundation? Therapy? Non-abusive allies? Whatever you choose, it will require that you dig in. It hurts, it's tough, and it is a consistent lifestyle change, but it is so worth it. My pops and I found our own rhythm to healing, our own beat and cadence, turning towards one another and not away.
But like Chaka Khan sang, you got to be willing to go through the fire, to the limit, and to the wall. You best believe it. I knew I had to earn any loving lessons I could gain from this ugly, ugly experience. So I just literally imagined myself courageously collaborating with Adenike. I trusted my vision that I could fully participate with her to break any circuits of silence between us, within our family, within myself. I opened myself to discussing any and all difficult subjects, no matter how uncomfortable such discussions made me.
For me, it was a no-brainer, choosing my pops as my non-abusive loved one, as my ride and live partner. When you make the decision to heal, to change, and to confront your trauma, choose your conversation partner wisely. And and remember, they do not need to be biological family. Your ally can be a friend or a coworker. Choose someone who can help you imagine a healthy future. Someone who can help you chart a roadmap to that inspiring future. Choose someone who doesn't automatically give you answers or solutions. Someone who asks what you need, but won't let you wallow in your pain, anger, and frustration.
I'm glad that Adenike and I learned from this unwanted trauma that we are both fighters, that there was no way we were going to let her criminal ex-stepfather win. Period, pure and simple. Our bond grew from father-daughter to Pops and Ade. By choosing to be well, we became friends. We felt this magnificent renewal stirring within us. We even learned to laugh. We discovered that we could be silly together. When folks see us in public or on social media, nobody would ever know that the tragedy of sexual assault had stalked our lives.
I knew when we took that road trip that I was at a point in my life where I needed more from my father. I didn't have the words to explain it, but I had an instinct that our road trip would become a vital part of my healing. And it was. I reclaimed my voice and I reclaimed my father. We've earned this relationship. Our living legacy is finding and using our own voices.
And for me, that definitely means lifting our voices and singing together. It also means saying in my most personal voice, yes, sweetheart, I do want to be well.
You are not defined by the worst that you've experienced. My father reset the masculine standard of connection and communication in my life. Our connection has become the foundation of what I now yearn for in a partner. If I'm going to look at the rest of my life as a road trip, I know I don't have to take it alone. And and I will choose to be well no matter my destination. Thank you.